Okay, in the meantime, waiting for the other attendees, I would like to welcome everybody to the Today GeoMax Academy webinar interview. I'm Francesco Zuccari. I'm the head of the GeoMax Support and Training department. It's a pleasure today to present this webinar. One of the biggest benefits to be part of a huge group like Hexagon is to have the possibility to access to the knowledge, to the technologies and services developed by the other companies that belongs to the same group. Today, we will present one of these services. It's Hexagon SmartNet. With a webinar uncovering the mystery of GNSS correction services. As you know, thousands of surveyors, builders, and construction workers use the GNSS correction services every day. But how do these services work? Okay, what matters when choosing such a service? In this free live webinar, Christoph Storm and Marco Mozzon from Hexagon SmartNet will guide us to the world of correction services, and they will describe us what are the benefits of choosing and using Hexagon SmartNet. Christoph, Marco, welcome to the GeoMax Academy webinar. I'm sure that our followers want to know a bit more about yourself. Okay, can you tell us something about you? Christoph, can you start, please?
Yes, of course. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for attending this webinar. Thank you very much to the GeoMax Academy. Thank you, Francesco, for making this possible and for inviting us. It's always a pleasure to talk about what we do every day. My name is Christoph Storm. I'm product manager for Hexagon SmartNet since quite some years, and I'm responsible for the global operations team.
Thanks,
Marco.
Christoph, and welcome. It's a pleasure for us to have you today. Marco?
Thank you very much.
Good. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Francesco, for this opportunity. And quick introduction about myself. I'm Marco Mozzon. I'm a product manager for Hexagon SmartNet. I'm in this big world since the last 15 years, basically. I've been part of the development, all the network all around Europe, mainly. And I'm now supporting the growth and development of all the Hexagon SmartNet service together with Christoph and all the team. I'm placed in Italy, and I'm very pleased to be here today now with all of you guys. Thank you, Francesco.
That's great. That's great, guys. So I think it's time to start the webinar. So please, guys, start and tell us everything about the webinar. But one thing more, guys. For our followers, you will have the opportunity to ask us all the questions you want. We are here not only to give you the presentation today, but also to answer all your questions about this argument. So you have the opportunity to ask us questions. You have on the top right side of your screen a small menu. It's a red arrow, a small icon that will open a menu. Okay, in that menu you have the possibility to write down your questions. So it will be a pleasure for us after the presentation to reply to all your questions. So thanks a lot again, guys. Let's start. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Francesco. Then let's start with the presentation. So you mentioned it already. We will talk a little bit about, after the introduction, a little bit about what is a GNSS correction service, what do we do, and of course, we like to do that by telling the story of Hexagon SmartNet. That will be the first part of the webinar that I will do. And in the second part, Marco will talk a bit more about technical terms, what are standards, what is behind the scenes, what's the difference between mount points and the different technologies that we use. And of course, as mentioned, at the end, we have enough time for all your questions. Please post them to the chat or write them down, and we can talk about them afterwards. Francesco, you mentioned it in your opening words that we are part of Hexagon. So I would like to start with the vision of Hexagon, that you guys know why all these different products, why and how they all fit together. And one of the visions, or the vision, is empowering an autonomous future. SmartNet comes here into the game whenever we talk about highly accurate, precise, and reliable positioning data for whatever application or for whatever industry you want to use them. We believe the autonomy is the ultimate state when you put data into work. So what do we do with all our instruments, with all our rovers, with all our GNSS devices? They measure somehow data, in this case, precision data. We give them the highest accuracy possible, which gives you guys, the customers, the integrators, the possibility to add more value to this data. And the ultimate form of this is the autonomy. Typically, we think when we talk about autonomy, in today's world, we a lot think about autonomous driving, but it's not only for autonomous driving. It's every process, every algorithm that you want to automate, and where you need high precision data, we come into the game. So we see ourselves here between positioning and autonomous technologies. So as said, we have different sensors in the Hexagon world, not only GNSS related ones, but in this case, when SmartNet comes into the game, somehow GNSS or precision data is involved. So we capture this reality and we give the data meaning in the sense of accuracy. Of course, there are other solutions within the organization, within Hexagon, software solutions, but we at the moment concentrate on the service solutions. This leads us to Hexagon SmartNet, part of Hexagon Geosystems, and our slogan is precision you can count on, because we are there when you are there and when you work. That's what we try to do and successfully achieved since a couple of years. In a webinar like this, I always like to start a little bit from a higher view. What is a correction service? What is a GNSS correction service? And also, when you choose a correction service provider, then make sure to ask them questions like how many constellations, how many signals, which signals they track and they provide you. In our case, we track all the signals and all the constellations that are there. So GNSS not only consists of GPS, it's probably the most famous one, but of course we have a European system called Galileo, a Russian system GLONASS, and the Chinese navigation satellite system called Beidou. We track all of them. In our case, we augment this. We use this these signals to provide RTK data. We still believe RTK is state of the art and provides the highest accuracy possible. Of course, there are other technologies, broadcast technologies, developed or already developed and live. We can talk about them in the Q&A session, but at the moment for the SmartNet session, we talk about the RTK kind of things. With this, we deliver centimeter or sub-centimeter accuracy, and as stated in the beginning, more and more applications require this high accuracy positioning. But first, a little bit, how does this whole thing work? So we have satellites in the air that continuously stream their correction or satellite data to a so-called reference station network. It's these pillars here that are permanently mounted, owned by Hexagon SmartNet, that receive this data. And we have somewhere a user connecting through the mobile internet to a service like Hexagon SmartNet. This could be any type of GNSS device, any type of rover, anything that can receive these satellite signals. So the reference station and the customer, by having an antenna somewhere on the roof or holding it in his hand on a pole, receive the same data from the satellite. At the same time, the customer, the user, having a GNSS device in his hand or on the roof, is connecting to a service, to a GNSS correction service provider, like Hexagon SmartNet, using mobile internet to get corrections from all these reference stations that are around him. So basically, all the signals that are observed from the sky by the satellite are streamed to a local data center, which we provide in SmartNet. And the customer connecting to us is receiving the computed corrections from these servers and sent back to the device. So that means the user connects.
Basically, Christoph, the data center are the brain of the full system. Is it right?
It is the brain or the heart of the full system. The brain, in the sense that here all the algorithms are computing highly accurate correction data or position data from all these reference stations. The idea is, and thanks for asking this question, the idea is that from all these reference stations, of course, we know the precise position that they have. So we exactly know where they are located. And we know at the time of observing satellite signals what the error in this area at the moment is. So same principle as if you have a local base station. You also know where this base station is, but with the big advantage that we have not only one base station, we have a couple of thousand base stations around the world, all connecting to this one brain, as you call it.
Great, thanks.
So the customer, the application is sending us the approximate position here to the Hexagon SmartNet brain. We calculate here the precise position, or the so-called RTK correction data, and send this back to the device who requested it. So it's a bidirectional communication, and the sender receives the correction from its absolute position. And that makes the position being possible accurately down to the centimeter level. And then, of course, the customer can start to work with the correct position. Interesting also to know, or good to know, that this happens instantaneously. So there is no convergence time, there is no waiting time that you have to switch on the device and then it takes for minutes to have accurate positioning. You have it instantaneously.
And it's absolutely repeatable in the time, the accuracy, right?
It's absolutely repeatable in time. Of course, I come a little bit later to that, but it's a very good question when it comes to quality and quality analysis. Of course, the errors that are occurring, or let's say the disturbances that a satellite signal takes from the satellite down to the Earth, the problems that can happen there, or the disturbances that can happen there, are sensitive of time. For example, ionosphere activities, they are sensitive in terms of whether you have a high ionosphere activity or low ionosphere activity. And there again, the more data you have, and the data in our sense is collecting data from the satellite, so from all these reference stations. The more data you have, the more reliable at the end your position is. because the more errors can also happen, the more redundancy you have. So in this sense, yes, fully repeatable. In a nutshell, what do we do? What is Hexagon SmartNet? So it's a cloud service providing centimeter accuracy. You called it here the brain. I like that. I will update my slides for the next time. Which gives you in seconds the availability. Of course, we are here 24/7, and when we talk about 24/7, it's not just some servers that run 24/7. It's really manpower behind it. That's also one big advantage of a global service. We have people all around the world, and we can really follow the sun principle in terms of that we always have somebody being available for the customer looking after the system. We are the largest reference station network with at the moment approximately 4,500 reference stations across the world. Again, keep in mind that the more reference stations you have, the more data you have, and the more data you have, the more meaningful information you can derive from it. We're available in 26 countries at the moment, with a high focus on North America, Europe, Russia, Australia. We are there since quite some times. We soon have our 14th anniversary, so it's 14 years of existence and 14 years of knowledge acquisitions and knowing the problems of our customers and the challenges that we have to solve, and continuously improving our service the last 14 years and also for the next years. We're based on various technologies. The reference station technology is not only from Leica Geosystems, but also from other brands. So there we are really open to everyone. That's also the reason, which brings me to the next slide, how the evolution of SmartNet looks like. So we started, or the whole topic, of course, is not a new one. I told already about single base reference stations, which are still there, which are still working very well and good. Just keep in mind, one reference stations versus hundreds or thousand reference stations. So I don't have to tell you that the single point of failure looks different if you have one or more reference stations. So that's how it all started. With single reference stations. Then the first SmartNet was invented or was built in UK with reference stations that look like this. That's also here you can easily see the difference between something like this. So if this is moved, then the coordinate is moved. If this is moved, then you need a dozer or something to move this, and then we have another problem. But you don't accidentally move a pillar like this. So the start was in UK from a SmartNet perspective. We're serving at that time, I would say 99.9 or close to 100% surveying customers only. That's where everything started. Surveys were probably the first ones requiring high precision GNSS data. But as time went by, we realized that we have a lot of customers, not from the typical survey market. So we decided to bring the branding and bring the product more to a Hexagon level to really become a provider to all products within Hexagon. So is GeoMax, and we have a lot of GeoMax customers today. We know what they need. We serve it to them. We serve it to every Hexagon brand, and we serve it to every brand out there. Thanks to the standardization, Marco will talk about it a bit later. Everyone can use Hexagon SmartNet. So it's not a Hexagon isolated product. But of course, we like to see it most if Hexagon products are used. Clear. All right, where do we provide our service? I mentioned it already. The focus areas that we have. this is very very simple to answer. Why it is these areas? Because there is the demand. You can approximately see here the number of stations that we have there, and that we provide there and operate there 24/7. Coming to applications, so maybe to applications that are not that typical for you and to different businesses. Of course, when we talk about surveying, this is maybe the first and the most traditional application that we serve. Why? We deliver the highest accuracy, repeatability, repeatable delivering the highest accuracy, and that's what the surveyor need. The land surveyor, especially because here really every centimeter counts. Other applications, like in agriculture, when we talk about precision agriculture, also here it gets more and more important, and it's in the meantime for big farms standard to use somehow, and some in some areas, for example, when they do their crop harvesting, to use precision agriculture, basically to put the tractor into auto steering mode, and in big farms, tractors running there 24/7, and you can imagine that a single worker cannot drive for 24/7. And the harvesting season is often very short, so those big machines, if they stand still for a day, it costs them not only thousands but hundreds of thousands of euros or dollars in terms of having a standstill. So that's why it's important that you rely on a service that is there and available when you need it. Machine control, of course. A lot of machine control customers use our service to put more efficiency into their work, to be it dozers, be it graders, to get the precision they need. Of course, in the whole utilities and GIS world, collecting assets, also here high accuracy is of a benefit. And if we talk about UAVs, especially used for inspections or something, I'm not talking here about the hobby pilots that use drones for fun, but more, of course, they can also use SmartNet, but we don't have that much of those customers, but more the professional ones who are doing, for example, electricity mast or dam inspections, etc.
I found, sorry if I interrupt you, Christoph, but I found this slide really interesting because I started working in this sector a lot of times ago, a lot of years ago, and so at that time we were thinking about just the surveyors as a customer, but now what is called the user segment is really huge, and is unbelievable how many different segments and industries can use this kind of service. It's absolutely impressive.
That's very true, and we really saw that developing. You were probably one of those surveyors that used SmartNet from the beginning, like many others. But we really see a demand in a lot of other applications and a lot of other industries. For example, the automotive industry, which has a high demand at the moment. It's in everyone's mouth, autonomous driving. I'm not sure whether SmartNet will be the provider for the car at the end, but for sure, where we are already in today is SmartNet, and RTK gives the highest precision, and it's in all the applications used, if it's indirectly used, as the so-called ground truth, because it's the highest accuracy that you can achieve. And it's very true that this has changed, and this are also challenges and things that we had solved during the time, because the system and the service really needs to be up and running 24/7. In the old days, we could have probably said, okay, in this country, the surveyor stops at the evening and doesn't do his stakeouts in the middle of the night. But today, with agriculture, with machine control, we have pure 24/7 people consuming the service. So in every point in time, regardless of which time in the day or which day in the year, we always have somebody connected, consuming the correction data from our service. Which actually brings us to one highlight of the whole quality management. I don't want to talk about the entire quality management that we have, because this would probably be worth another webinar. But one topic that I wanted to pick out is the site coordinate monitoring. We see here an example. So we have a service for this that automatically monitors the position of the reference station. So imagine a reference station is built up, everything is done, is connected and streams its data to the SmartNet data center. And of course, the reference station needs to get a highly accurate coordinates. But as you know, through plate tectonics or other phenomena, this reference station can move. So the coordinate needs to be adjusted. Typical example here, in Greece, we have some major movements, but I think the most famous one is California, which moves about 5 centimeters in 6 months. So if you don't do coordinate adjustments, you're pretty soon losing the accuracy. And for this, of course, we have a service monitoring these base stations and the coordinates in real time to make it possible to adjust them and to send out alarms to guarantee the best accuracy to our customers. Good. Last slide from my side. Just on the commercial offering side. So with this slide, the key takeaway is that we are really here for everyone. So whether you are a single customer in whatever industry and need a single license, we are here for you. You can get from us, of course, real-time RTK access. We also offer Rhinex data, vRhinex, or an online post-processing service. And of course, the support is in your local language. We have in all the countries, we have on-site support teams that speak your language, that understand your challenges, your problems that you need to solve. Even so, we are a global provider. One of our strengths and one of our focus areas is the local support. On the other hand, we of course also support big enterprises, having fleets of equipment with multiple hundred or thousands of users that they want to equip with SmartNet. Also for you, we have a solution with a little bit of a different support team, different requirements in terms of logistics, so how to manage all these subscriptions. And of course, if you're an integrator, then you're more than welcome to contact us. We can also serve you if you want to deliver together with your board or with your integrated product, SmartNet out of the box. Just contact us. You will hear at the end of the presentation how to get in touch with us. With this, I want to hand over to Marco. I am changing the presenter mode to you, Marco.
Yeah, thanks, Christoph. Also for the great overview of all the, please show my screen.
Can you,
no, you're making me presenter. Yes, okay. But the screen.
You are presenter, Marco. So in the meantime, guys, we are already receiving a lot of questions. Once Marco will share the presentation, please continue to send us your questions at the end of the presentation slides. We will answer to all your questions. Again, also is on top right side of your screen. You have the menu, a small red arrow to open the menu, and you have the questions box where you can type in so the questions. So
Are you presenting now, Marco? Does it work?
I expect to. Do you see me?
Yes,
yes,
we can see your presentation.
Okay, perfect. Good. Thanks for taking time while I'm managing it. Good. So now we're connecting to the good introduction by Christoph and reminding the old past time. Can you still see me? I still see messages appearing on the screen. I don't know why. Let's now go deep in what are the deep point of Hexagon Smartness, so how it works, and let's start now learning some new words. Usually, I used to introduce this topic with one single concept of common language we use to speak. In this moment, we are using English. I'm Italian. Francesco too. Christoph is speaking German, but everybody is to communicate with English. Is the common language we can use to understand each other. We have to do the same while we use our GPS. This is the basic. Christoph before mentioned the concept of standardization, that we are compatible and connected with any kind of receiver. This is because we are speaking a standard language. This standard language is well known with the acronyms RTCM. That is something that for sure you already learned about in your history of using GPS, if you already did. Otherwise, we will go through that right now. Basically, RTCM is the name of a commission, that is Radio Technical Commission for Maritime Services, that years ago started to set the standard for the GPS signal connection. This is what we need to know as a first name. So the RTCM is what is our standard language. RTCM then use a protocol. This is a standard for the internet application, and is called NTRIP protocol. So these are the first two names that are interesting for us, RTCM and NTRIP. What we have to know then, just to start going deep in this topic, something that you for sure already learned also on your receiver or on the web, is what is the message type of RTCM, or what you probably know as RTCM version 2, RTCM version 3. What's that? Basically is the evolution of the different RTCM messages related to what is the evolution of the satellite constellation. Before we learned about the GPS constellation by Americans, the one from Russia, the GLONASS, and this is so the evolution of signal that is reflected with the evolution in the RTCM format. So from the old 2.3, that was the one used 15 years ago with GPS only, then we evolved to version 3, and now 3.2, that is the one that is including all the constellation. We have now one more detail that we have to add to our informations, that is related to what is the basic information we get while we connect to a network. So what happens? You subscribe to a service, you get from SmartNet all your information, but what are this information for? This information can be summarized with these easily acronyms. Again, we are still using a lot of new words that I'm sure that will not be too complex for you. The first is URL, is the name of the website. It's something that you usually work with in every day when you digit Google on the keyboard. That for SmartNet is, in this example, is it.nrtk.eu. So this is the name of the server you have to connect to. And this name is a name that is country related, together with the EP port. So basically this is compatible with all the receiver, and is easily, I can transform this information with the address of the physical address of where is our web farm, the called URL, and what is the IP port that could be the identification in the road about the number of your building. So this is what is URL and IP port, the first information that you need to insert in your configuration of the rover that is displayed on the right. Then you have other two important information that are user ID and password, again available in your configuration on the rover, that are the one that identify you. These information are very important, not only because are the one that allow you to connect to the network. Without this information, you can't log in any service, but are very important because the user ID is the one that is identifying you and is then allowing the infrastructure and of course the support in case of need to identify who you are and to track and support directly you.
Marco, sorry
yes.
if I interrupt you, but I think you have a problem to change the slide.
Where you are?
How to connect and what do we get while connecting to Hexagon SmartNet?
Okay, let's see.
That page.
Okay, let's try to reshare again. Can you see it now?
We see from the presenter view the PowerPoint software.
Now I expect you see the page. Let's do again sharing, share application. Now it's paused, now is in play. Isn't working?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay. Not yet.
Good. Okay, so let's act the plan B. Christoph, can you please share your presentation again, and then I'll go through that.
You need to give me back the presenter. I cannot share at the moment.
Okay, change presenter, Christoph. Okay, it's yours.
Good. Can you see my screen?
Okay, all right. Yes, I see your screen. Perfect. Okay, so next slide, please.
Which one do you see?
Okay, I see the one with the RTCN logo. Perfect.
Okay, go next slide.
Okay. Okay, please click once and two, so it will appear the two images. Okay, perfect. Good, thank you. So thanks, Francesco and Christoph, for the support. So where we are. Next information that we need to know is the mount point. What the mount point is. Again, we are talking about connecting to our network, so we applied our basic information, is the password and where we are connecting, and now we start having the first very important information for us, the mount point. Mount point is a list, as I described it in the presentation, with description of services. And this is basically what we will get from the network. We'll see now in the next information slide more about it. Another important information is mentioned in this talk is the reference frames and epoch. It's something that probably is not so common for you, so it's not something that is well known as naming as RTCM, UTD and password, but it's something that we have to take care of, and it's very, very important for our application. It doesn't matter if you're talking about high precision surveying or any type of, I don't know, drones or GIS, reference frame and epoch are something very, very important. Next, Christoph, please.
Yep.
Okay, good. Mount points. What a mount point is? Mount point basically is the mount point is a list of information that we receive from the network that is displayed, as you see in the graphics on the screen, by your rover. This is a representation of a GeoMax receiver, but is the same concept for any kind of receiver, so information are displayed in the same way. And basically is a list of different type of, let's call correction format we can receive from the network. This list could be very long and could include many opportunities. Now we'll see what are the difference and what we have to define for our best use of the rover. Please remember that this kind of list is variable by country and by type of contract and subscription you have with your provider. So you could connect with one country, another country, and get different list of mount point with different information inside. But in a nutshell, we will see the next, Christoph, please. The information displayed are quite easy. What is for us important, and now let's focus on what are the key information that we need to know. We talked about mount point, we now talk about correction type, but what's that for? Let's focus on this slide that is summarizing everything together with what is in the configuration of the receiver. You see that in this example, we have a server SmartNet, so you are connected to SmartNet service. Then you have the mount point that is in the example IMAX free RDN MSM, perfect, with format RTCM3 and network type IMAX. Here you have in nutshell all the information you need to know. Let's analyze one by one so we can go through that. The mount point is, as we said, you can see also in the table on the left on the screen, what is the name that has been assigned to the service you are receiving. And this is the first important information. You see that this is, in this example, you have 5 of that. And then the format. Again, the mix of these two important information. In the first slide, we talked about RTCM 2.3, 3.1, and 3.2. And now we have format 3. Perfect. So this information, and this is something that you have to take care, is telling you that you are working with RTCM3, so you can have all the possible constellation available. So working with the modern and updated receiver, this is the suggestion that I have for you. So first important information, if your receiver could use all the satellites, please use RTCM3. You see on the left in the table that the RTCM 3.1 with RTCM 3.2 format are providing all the information in different format. And now let's talk about what is defined as network type or correction type. You see from the top on the list, DGPS, IMAX, MAC, nearest, and VRS. This is basically the way that the server, so the provider, in this case SmartNet, Hexagon SmartNet, is providing you the information. What does it mean? Let's make an example to make you clear. You have for sure well known what is IMAX, is a name that is not new for you. Another name that for sure you know is VRS or MAC or DGPS. These are the way that you are then receiving correction, and so your rover are working. Let's make an easy example. Nearest. What nearest is? Nearest is a service that allows you, so your rover, to connect to the nearest station. Is something that provides you reliability, because if the nearest station could be down or affected by any jamming, the infrastructure will provide you a second nearest station. But this is something that it works with a single receiver. So your rover plus another one receiver, single connection. Different from the concept of pure network correction that we use to work with every day, that is contained, for example, in the IMAX, where we have individualized correction from the entire structure of the network around you, transmitted to your receiver. So again, IMAX is the format that I suggest you to use, because it's the one, as in the example of the configuration that you see here, that is providing you all the information from the network correction, together what is the format that is in the example is RTCM3, so full constellation. So to summarize, full constellation is provided by RTCM3. Let's have a look on that, and let's focus on this kind of option when we have it. And network type or correction type, IMAX is the one that provides you the best from the network, because you have the network correction, as we used to call, and provide you all the reliability and redundancy of the infrastructure with all the constellation.
So Marco, so we are already receiving really a lot of questions, and
yes.
One of the most common that we receive also during our daily support life So which is the best kind of correction type between IMAX and VRS? So can you explain us what are the differences, if there are real differences, and which one is the best one, or in which condition you can choose between the two?
Yeah, I would say that is a new question, but it's not, because as you say, it's a very common question we got every day. Okay, let's start with a quick introduction about the names VRS and IMAX. VRS stands for Virtual Reference Station, different from the IMAX that is born from the MAX concept of correction services inside of like environment. So our two names. What is the difference for us? Because you correctly ask, following the request by our attendee, what is the best for me, what I have to choose. First, linking to what I said before, let's use nearest, so the single reference station as basic example. So you're working reference station versus rover, two entities, versus the network correction. Network correction are, as I mentioned, providing you data from multiple reference stations. So it's the best that you can have because of redundancy, because of quality of the service, and quantity of information, as mentioned by Christoph. So first point important for you. So nearest versus correction service, IMAX and VRS. Between these two, what is the best? What are the differences? The differences basically are also summarized in the name. The virtual reference station is based on the concept that we are providing, instead of a real reference station with the real coordinate, that is the one that is for the nearest, the one I have. In the VRS, I have something that is created by the software for you in a real virtual way. So a coordinate that is close to you, close as possible, to mitigate the distance error concept. And this is something that is one shot for your connection, and this is not repeatable. This is something that is one of the main difference. You create your connection with your virtual reference station today, now. If you do the same tomorrow or in the next connection, you will not have the same coordinates. So the repeatability of your reference station is not part of the VRS concept, different on what is IMAX, that is working with the real reference station. So we'll have the coordinate of your real reference station, and so repeatability. And in case of troubleshooting, in case you want, for example, the classical example is, do I want to process my Rhinex data together with RTK to prove and to double check my data? How can I do that? With the IMAX, I have real data, and I can compare my survey in RTK together with a survey in post-processing. In a survey that you performed through a VRS, you don't have this opportunity because VRS is providing you, as I said, a virtual reference station that is not replicable in the same way. In terms of performance, because I'm sure that our attendees are interested in performance, so what is the best for me? Because at the end, this is a nice talk, but the question is, what is the best in terms of performance? The best of performance is, in the GPS are composed by many parameters, the quality of receiver, quality of satellites, and so on. So it's a matter of compatibility. From our test, IMAX is the one that is providing the best compatibility with all the kind of receiver. So this is the answer I can provide you from my experience in the last, let's say, 14 and 15 years in reference station networking. So my suggestion is to provide a direct answer to your question. IMAX with RTCM3 is the best solution for all the rollers.
Good. Thanks.
Good. And this is it's a very important point, Francesco. So thanks for asking, because at the end is the final result. So what we are explaining now is a nice theory, and I'm very happy to share with all of you. But for sure, we have also to provide what is, in a nutshell, the results for our customer. Okay, good. So let's reconnect to what is the presentation. Thanks, Christoph. And now the point that is often not so frequent to be discussed, but it's very, very important. Christo before mentioned it 2 times something related to this. So Christo say that the reference station are the nice pillar in the first picture. Then we saw the picture of Greece, and we mentioned the California that is moving. Everything like that is represented in another one. Click, please, Christoph, that there is the graphic. Everything is represented with what is called, oh no, get lost, doesn't matter, with what is the reference frame or coordinate system. Let's say that the coordinate system is a name that often we talk about. Why this topic? This is very important because you know that being a surveyor or talking about positioning, GPS technology in general is providing us positioning information. We need to know this information, what is related to what is the coordinate system this information is provided. This is something that we assume is a standard. Often when you open our mobile, we see the point on the map. We are not asking ourselves, what is this information related to? We are happy to see our point on the map, and that's it. When we perform our survey with the GPS, we see the distance between points. We are happy about the quality, and that's it. But it's important to understand that there is one big topic to be discussed, and is that the GPS system, let's call GPS between us, the GNSS system is based on what is called global reference frame. This is because of the movement of the tectonic plates, because of the system is dynamic. The Earth itself is not a static object, is living object, and is evolving, is moving. It means that the GPS itself, so don't be scared about this point because it could scare. The GPS is working, the GNSS system is working with what is called global reference frame, also known IGB 14 or ITRF 2014. You see that there is a date, so an indicator of when this reference frame is related to. What is then your survey in your local coordinate system, and this is something that is provided as a service by SmartNet, is or could be on a different local reference system. Every country, and this is a purely country-related topic, is providing what is so-called local reference system. Is driven by the government, by Cadastre, by Geodetic Institute, and this is the one that usually you work with. The difference, and this is the key information for you, the difference between the global reference frame and the local coordinate system you have usually is no more than 50 centimeters. This is the information that you have to take note. So what could happen if you are working in a connection network that you are not aware about the reference frame and you are not sure about what is the reference coordinate system used in your country, and you see a distance between, for example, a point on a map and a point that you measured that is around 50 centimeters, could be you're using 2 different types of coordinate system. This is not a problem. This is not a problem for you because the good of the reference system and the coordinate system is that they can be correlated each other. So there is always a way to pass through one to the other. This is the last point for what is the coordinate system. I wish to underline this point. I know that is a quite difficult topic and is not easy to summarize in a few words what usually require a dedicated session, that in case we will be happy to have in the future. But this is something that also in my experience support, you know, Francesco, we had a lot of discussion with customer in the past and also today. The coordinate system is something that once you have your connection with the network, you have your coordinates, so you're happy about what is your results in terms of quality, precision, then you start having maybe some trouble in sharing data with some friends, some customer, or some colleague, and there is a misleading in the 2 data. This is because of the different coordinate systems. So don't be scared about it. Coordinate systems are mathematical stuff that can be, I don't want to say easily because it's not an easy topic, but we have a software that could help us to move between the different coordinate systems. Okay.
Great. Thanks, Marco. So the slide you can see now is the mail address of the GeoMax Academy technical support. If you have other questions after this webinar, please send it to us. It will be a pleasure for us to reply to you. In any case, it's we have still a few minutes for the question and answer, guys. We can go through the other questions we received during this webinar. Are really a lot. We will not reply, unfortunately, to all of them, but you will be contacted and you will get all the answer you need. So, Marco, Christoph, I would like to go through quickly to the question and answer. So, one of the question is from one of our Indian follower. Okay, is about the course Indian network. Okay, that is using like technologies. What is the future for the Indian network? And here I can connect also another question that is about the course network, which services will be offered in future worldwide.
So when it comes to India, I'm not sure whether I fully understood it. Whether the question is whether SmartNet covers India or whether there are plans to cover India. India is a big country, so if you have a course network there, of course, use it, make use of it for India. At the moment, we don't cover India with SmartNet, with an RTK system. But maybe in the future, with a global system that is maybe more satellite based. And to your second question, how do we see and where do we see the future of the course? So we at SmartNet believe whatever technology you use today and in the future. We talked a lot about RTK today. There is a lot ongoing about PPP, about SSR. Whichever system you use, you will need cores on the ground. So you will need reference stations on the ground across the globe to increase position. And again, in simple words, the more reference stations you have, the more data you collect and the more meaning, the more information you can derive for it and add value to your position. Of course, in theory and also in practice, you would not need that many reference stations that we maybe have in some countries. But the more, the better, the more data you have. And this, we believe, is also the future, regardless of how the technology look like, how it is distributed. I hope this answered the question, Francesco.
Francesco, you're muted.
Sorry, guys.
Cannot hear you. Now you're back.
Okay. So yes, thanks, Christoph, for your answer. About the satellite systems, sometimes, and here I can find some of the questions that more or less comes to the same one. So during the last, let me say, 5 years, we found a lot of different constellation growing and start to be operative. Okay, we know that SmartNet it's already using most of them. Okay, some of the customers sometimes want to know what are the benefits to use the new system, the new constellation like Galileo, like Beidou. And what about the other constellation like the Navik, the Indian one, the Chinese constellation that now the QZSS, for example? What is the SmartNet approach? What is the SmartNet view?
Marco, You or me?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's okay. Okay. In general, yeah. The evolution is from the old past with the GPS till now went very fast, and we have now the opportunity to have a lot of constellation available. In this moment, as we mentioned in the presentation, we are using 4 constellation available in Hexagon Smart service, and the reason for that is that from the moment that the constellation start becoming a service, we needed to have a full coverage or enough coverage to provide the real service. And from that moment on, we introduce in what is our channels, let's say. So we have to provide a service that, as said before, should be for everybody. So we need to have global coverage and reliable service. It means that, as happened from GPS to GPS and GLONASS, and then with Galileo and Beidou, we are following what is the evolution. So the plan for Hexagon Smart is to follow the evolution and step by step to include also all the other services that will be available in the future. Is this answering to your question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay, guys, just the last 2 questions, because we are running a lot out of time. But anyway, I can see that still the attendees are really a lot and all attentive. So one of the other question is still about the kind of correction. So to be connected to a network is one of the basic is to have the internet connection, okay, a modem connected to the network. Yeah. This is clear. Sometimes we receive a connection about the amount of data. Like, for example, this question: how much data is generally consumed when our RTK connection is done? Is there a real benefit using 4G connection instead of 3G connection?
Good question.
Very good question. Yeah, often discussed.
Exactly, as the BRS before is a well-known topic. Let's cover in this way. Of course, as you correctly underline, Francesco, we need to have our rover connected to internet. So a contact with a mobile provider is one of the must for this application. Usually, when you subscribe to the mobile provider, you will never find something that is for our application. You have to work with let's call a standard SIM card that is providing internet connection service. So this is what you get from the shelf in the mobile provider shop. The standard service that they provide with the 40-50 giga of availability is more than what you need. Consider that is a few megabytes, the volume that you use to transfer for connection with the GPS. So from this perspective, nowadays is not an issue, the volume of the data. Could be a point to be underlined is what you mentioned regarding the 3G, 4G availability service. This is another hot topic because mobile companies are strongly pushing on that, because not only on the data volume, we know that the difference in technology between 2G, 3G, 4G is in data volume, but also in speed. For our application, being an application that is 1 second streaming, so the connection between the rover and the server and vice versa is each second, we are not requiring high-speed data. It means that the old 2G connection that was designed at the time of GPS-only connection is the one that is more than enough. The well-known GPRS connection or edge connection are more than enough in terms of performance for what is a connection for any rover. Of course, this technology is not anymore available. We know that the 3G is going to be dismissed in most of the country. So there is no advantage or no need for us to spend money in something more. So what is provided by any provider is more than enough for a very professional and good connection.
Of course, it also depends on how you use it, whether in which industry, whether you're a surveyor or whether you're in the 24/7.
Yeah.
Depends, of course, but it's clear. It's like being on the telephone.
Yeah, exactly. So, guys, I would like really to thank you for your participation to this webinar. Really, it has been really interesting, and I hope that maybe we can organize in future some other webinar with you guys with SmartNet. So I would like also to thanks to all the participants for the participation and for the amount of questions that we received today. If we didn't answer to your question, so you will receive the reply to your email. Is not a problem. So if you want to send us additional questions after this webinar, so you can send us at our mail address academy@gmxpositioning.com. Unfortunately, it's time to close the webinar. Thanks a lot again, Christoph. Thanks a lot again, Marco. And thanks a lot again to all our attendees.
Good.
Thank you very much, Francesco, and thank you very much to everyone who attended this webinar.
It's been a pleasure.
Looking forward to talking to you.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. Have a nice day.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.